Hi guys, welcome to the Tammy and Chana show. I'm Chana.
And I'm Tammy.
And we are doing our podcast from the car.
Yes, we had a great day together. Went to a spa, just had lunch, some coffee, and we were inspired to do a podcast today.
Yeah, today we went to the Salute Spa, I think that's how you say it, in Cumberland. And while we were there, we got into some deep talks about what it's like to shift and change and grow and how to learn from your past. And so we wanted to talk a little bit today about what it's like to go through like a revolutionary change and come out on the other side and share some stories about that.
Yes, how you can transform and change after going through trauma in your life. I feel like everybody has a story, right? So we go through these shifts and changes and we learn from that, we grow from that. It seems like we have to shed layers and learn from it and heal. And then we can look back and say, wow, those were some of our biggest lessons.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things, you don't want to dwell too much in the past, but it's really important for you to acknowledge how it helped you grow. And one of the things I know about myself, because I'm 41 now, was just in the past how superficial I was and how caught up in image I was and how judgmental I was. And what you realize now is that whatever's on the inside seeps out. So I think when people are in a low place, like a low vibrating place like I was, you tend to kind of manifest a reality of that all around you. Everywhere I looked around me, I had crappy friends, selfish people around me. It was misery. And I know Tammy and I talked about today too, just how different she is in the last, 5 years, I think.
Oh gosh, yes. I feel like I just posted something today on my social media and it says, raise your hand if you know what it's like to lose everything and rebuild your life from scratch. So I know what it's like to lose everything, kind of maybe a little off track, but it definitely has a lot to do with where I'm at today. So the worst of times turned out to be the best of times. I can look back on the stories, the situations of things that happened in the past and be like, whoa, the worst of times, the worst relationships, the worst situations. I can look back now and be like, whoa, those were my biggest lessons.
Tell the story about when you were driving home from Nezzy's and what that was like when you...
Oh, yes. I'm a single mom, 5 kids, was working day and night. I managed Snap Fitness in Rice Lake. I worked tending bar, and I was missing out on my kids' lives, which they're the most important thing to me. And to miss out on everything was really sad for me. So one night I remember leaving the bar that I was working at and driving home in a snowstorm. And I just said, okay, I got real. I got real and true and raw. And I just said, okay, God, there's got to be a different way. I surrender to you. Show me the way. And from that moment on, my life changed forever. I went to a spa in the cities 2 weeks later. And I was talking to my daughters about what their goals and dreams were moving forward with a new year coming up. It was 2017. And we were talking about our goals and visions. And I said mine was to start my own business. I have no clue what that looks like.
Had you ever owned your own business before?
I did some. I sold Scentsy before.
Yeah, like MLM stuff?
Correct. Yep. But I didn't have a clue what that looked like to own my own business and quit what I was doing because I was comfortable, right? So we went there, had our treatments, walked up front to pay, and this woman's like, oh my gosh, I almost forgot to tell you that there is a school here where you can learn services, become a laser tech, all the things. And I just started crying. I looked at my daughter, McKenna. I just said, this is it. This is where I need to be. So fast forward, I chose to go to school. I opened my own business, and it just has been growing and moving and shaking and expanding. And I have bigger visions and dreams moving forward. But if I would have stayed where I was at, I would still be tending bar and missing out on my kids' lives. But now I get to enjoy them every night. I get to take them on vacations. I get to spend a day with Chana and do some fun things and start living. And
don't you feel like you as a person have grown so much since then too? Like that's the transformative thing that we were talking about was I kind of have a similar story about like losing everything. Well, my husband lost his job. We were living in the Twin Cities. We were forced out of our home in 14 days. We had to sell everything we owned. And I came back to Wisconsin very humbled and embarrassed and ashamed. We had to borrow money from my sister for rent, for 6 months worth of rent, because we had no jobs and didn't know what we were going to do here. And looking back 5 years ago, I think that was all because I was living such a egocentric, vain life, and God knew that he had a plan for my life, and I couldn't see it until everything was taken away. I would have just been the same person. I mean, it was fine. I wasn't a bad person. I just feel like I have so much more connection to humans now, and people, and appreciation for life. I mean, Tammy and I could cry all the time talking about how grateful we are. I didn't have that gratitude before. I didn't have that ability to like tear up from complete compassion and just marveling at my life. It's crazy.
I know, it's funny how God rips the rug out from underneath you and you think it's the worst of times, but you grow and you heal and you look back and you're like, thank you, God, because now it's the best of times.
Yeah, and it really feels like you're alone and scared and everything got taken from you, but it's honestly just shedding all the junk that you're carrying around.
Absolutely. Yes, I was telling Shayna today, I said when my ex-husband left me, he left with 4 kids, me with my 4 children, and basically nothing. So it was starting over from scratch, becoming superwoman, because I didn't know what I was going to do. So I just dived into work, and I figured it out, and I don't know, it's a miracle how things worked out.
Now her daughter works with her. Sometimes all the girls help out, but now she has a thriving business where she gets to work with her daughter every day, and her daughter gets to watch her be an entrepreneur and learn and grow, and she's empowering other women in the community to go to school and learn a trade and come and work and providing jobs. And it's just, I think the important thing that we're trying to get across is that you can literally transform your entire life and become something you never even dreamed possible. If someone would have told me 5 years ago that I would have my products in 30 different stores and I'd be shipping across the nation and, work with Sony Pictures and Target Corporation and have all of these successes, I would have died laughing. I mean, I literally would have been like, oh my God, yeah, right.
Right.
It's just a matter of trusting your intuition and trusting that your intuition is God. I think that's when Tammy says she's moving and shaking, I always take that as she just listens to her guidance and moves and does it and listens and does it.
Yes, Shayna always tells this story because I get an idea and I run with it. I don't let anything get in my way, and I don't sleep until it's done. Mm-hmm. So I always get these messages from God, and I can't sleep until it's done. I have taken hundreds now of leaps of faith, and it's brought me to this place that I'm at. And Shayna always says that if an alien dropped in her backyard and I was sitting having coffee with her, I'd be like, oh, that's cool.
She would. I mean, that's the funny thing. And I think it's important too, is like, we haven't always not everything worked out perfectly. There were some choices I made that didn't work out. I just throw stuff at the wall and I hope that it's going to sell and that it's going to work. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. You just can't get knocked down by the things that seem like failures, because even when you are quote unquote a successful entrepreneur, you're still having challenges. Like, there's been times when I've been like, okay, that item did not sell and now I'm sitting on all this inventory, but the next thing will.
Right. It's like you just have to take things in stride. You can't get wrapped up in it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I think that we just want you guys to know that, like, I don't know, if you're in a place at all where you feel like your past is holding you down, your past is what's going to bring you to the next level. Because if you didn't have those experiences, you wouldn't have the strength or the grit to handle what comes at you. I mean, Tammy went through so much, and the reason why she seems so strong, she told me today too, she said, like, she feels like she can hold the world on her shoulders because she's been through so much. And I think God perfectly planned it that way because he knew that he had a vision for her life. And the same with me. I'm a very sensitive, creative, artistic person. I never thought in a million years that I would have a creative baking business or be working with Tammy doing Reiki or any of the things that have happened. just don't box yourself in, because it's amazing when you let go and let God and the universe take over where it can lead you.
Absolutely. And every single one of my healings that I've been doing in the past few months, I get these messages and it just be still and know that I'm God. Mm-hmm. Just be still and know like he's working in your life. You just have to pay attention to the signs and the messages because they're everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, so I don't know. Is there anything else you can think of for today?
Nothing I can think of now. If you guys seen what we were doing right now, we're sitting in my car outside of the coffee shop, and we were just guided to do this podcast today because we haven't seen each other in so long. And we're like, oh my gosh, we need to get our voice on this podcast and share our messages. And we are going to get better at it, and we are going to be more available to share our message and our love and our light.
Yeah, and that's another good lesson. If you think you can't have a podcast, all you need is a cell phone and a vehicle, and you've got a sound stage, and you've got everything you need. You know, sometimes you get blocked up by thinking like, I can't do that. Yes, you can. We're two ladies sitting outside a coffee shop in a car talking into a phone because we want to have a podcast. So
It's so true.
We love you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back soon.
All right, have a great night, and we'll talk to you guys soon.